In this video, we learn about track properties. So let's see what is track property exactly. So when a field contains an object or an array, there is a limit to the depth of changes that are tracked. These tracking are done by the LWC engine behind the scene. So to tell the framework to observe the changes to a properties of an object or to the elements of an array, we need to decorate the field with the @track. So let's go to VS Code and try to decode this statement. So till now, we have learned only the two-way data binding with the string, right? So our property is normal property. We initialize it with the string 0 to hero, and here also the title was aura, and that too also string. So let's create another property address, and this time let it be a object. This time we are creating an object address, and address can have city Melbourne, and we can add other things like postcode, and I can add country as well, another property. So now I have an object, right? So first thing we need to understand the difference between the values and the object properties, right? So value is something that you assign directly after equal to symbol. So object is a value for the address property. Here aura is the value for the title property, and 0 to hero is the value for the field property, or for a property or for a field. So field and properties are interchangeable in the reference. Okay, so now we have an address property. Now I am assigning this object as a value to that address property, and this object has key value pair, key city and value Melbourne, key postcode value 3008, key country and value Australia. So when I am updating a particular field inside the object, it's not tracked by default by LWC engine. Like in our case, when we are updating the value directly, it was immediately tracked and update the HTML. So in our previous example, whenever I'll changing something in my course name, it calls the event handler, it assigns the value to title, and wherever the title has been used in the HTML, that value gets updated. But that case will not work if we update a single property of an object. The problem is, by default, LWC engine tracks the value that is directly assigned to a property. So let's see in example what I'm trying to say here is, let me copy paste the above code as it is below this. So now we are learning @track properties, and here also we need a input field. So I'll say enter city name. I'll add a event handler, that is track handler. You can give any name, so I'm adding track handler. I'll go to the JS field. Below this I'll create a method track handler. So as soon as you type something in the input field, it also sends us an event. And now we want to update the property address.city, and to do that we'll say this dot address.city, and now we want to update it with the value event.target.value. So as soon as you type something, it comes in the form of event.target.value, and we are updating the property that belongs to the address object. Okay, so here this is a particular property within the address object. This is not the direct value of an address object. We are updating the particular property of the address object here. And now on the screen I'll say address.city is my city. Okay, so by default when the component loads, it will show Melbourne is my city because address.city is initialized with the Melbourne. And when I start typing, we are assuming it should update the value of the city, and that city should be updated in the div tag. So let's deploy this. So now on the screen you can see our second card is ready. It's asking enter the city name, and by default it's saying Melbourne is my city, right? So I'll type New York and nothing is changing. That's the problem when we go with the complex data types like object and array, and LWC engine will not update this. And this, to solve this problem, we come up with the @track that track down all the property that are nested. So let's go to our VS Code back and let's import that power. So to import the property, we'll say I need a track power from LWC module, and we need to decorate our property with the @track. So basically @track is a decorator, and decorator means in JavaScript is a function wrap another property or function, and that function gives some extra power to that particular property or method. So in our case, we are wrapping our address with a @track, which says to our engine, okay, address has already track. I need to always keep an eye in all the properties that is inside the address property or address object. So now if I deploy this again and see, it start updating the value automatically. We haven't changed anything in the HTML as well as in the JS. Now we are back to our page. If I say New York, now you can see it's updating. So this is where @track is helpful when you are using array or object. It's always good to track down your properties if you are using this approach of updating. But in real time, I never follow this approach because JavaScript says you should not mutate the data. You should always generate a new copy. And to avoid that, there is nothing wrong, but that's the principle that I follow. And to avoid the track, I can ignore track for time being. And instead of updating the object, I can generate a new copy of the object and update the address object. To do that, I'll say I want a new copy, and to generate the new copy we can use the spread operator. So I'll say I'll spread all the property that is inside the address object, and I can add the new property to it, that is city. And if you don't know how the spread operator works, please watch my JavaScript section. In that I'm explaining the spread operator pretty well. So now what will happen is it will spread all the properties, city, postcode and country will spread out here. And on the right side, it will see, okay, one property is coming city. If that property is already available in on the left hand side address object, it gets override. So we get a new city value in the object and we are assigning those value directly to the address. So whenever the direct value gets updated, automatically our LWC engine re-renders. He don't need to think of @track or anything because we are updating directly the property, not the field of that property, right? So we are not updating the city and postcode, we are updating the whole object. So now if I deploy it, you will see our address again, city will update automatically. You don't need to use that track in this form. Let's go to our app page and you can see now I'll start typing New York or something else. You can use any city name, so it's updating, and here I haven't used anything track. But if you feel more complicated with this way, you always have @track, and to use @track you need to import the track from the LWC package. Many people start using it but forgot to import it. So always remember you need to import that track from the LWC package and you can use that. So here we can say directly, I'll take it back to the previous code. So event.address.city equal to event.target.value. So this is how our track works, and this is how it updates the value, because track help them to understand if any nested property has been updated or not. The same thing works with the array as well. So if you have an array list and I'll say A, B, and C, and you want to update this array list, then you need to update in two ways. Either you make it as a track, @track, and then you can use it in this way, user list of 0 or 1, whichever index you want to update the value, then you can update. But if you forgot to add the track, it will not update the value on the HTML if you are using any value of user list. So always remember, when you are using object or array, use @track, otherwise directly update the value of the property, not the specific field inside that object you are updating. So let's go back to a slide quickly. So let's see normal property versus @track property actual difference. So without using the @track, the framework observes the changing that assigns a new value to a field property, and if the new value is not triple equal to the previous value, the components re-renders. So this is what we have just discussed. So in the next video we're gonna learn about getters. So I'll see you in the next video.